Today we are talking about understanding lettering and tattoo design. About 1 in 3 people have a tattoo, and the most common thing that people get tattooed is lettering. These are things like names, dates, poetry, and quotes. So sure, you want to find the perfect letters, but that's really just the beginning. You're going to then want to customize those letters into an original piece of art for every client. We are Tattoo Design School, and we specialize in the artwork that goes into great tattoos. We've tattooed thousands of clients over the last 20 years, and today we're going to show you how we do lettering over 3 real-life projects. First, we designed script surrounded by roses. Then we designed blackletter that has a chrome and 3D effect. And last, we'll design gothic calligraphy. But as usual, let's quickly go over some theory first and make sure to hit the subscribe button. There are people in the world who only design letters, and these are font designers. So to start, we're going to look at the way they describe things. Now broadly speaking, letters are usually serif or sans serif. Serifs are those little flourishes at the ends of letters, and letters without them are called sans serif. Aside from those two, one of the most popular lettering styles is called script, and this is also known as cursive or calligraphy. And then there is blackletter, which is also called medieval or Old English. Now you might already know those terms, but let's quickly look at the many definitions a font designer needs to know. There is leading, baseline, overshoot, tracking, side-bearing, and I'm just naming a few of the things that are going on with letters. So that means there's a lot to mess up. And when I look at lettering and tattoos, I often see a lot of mistakes that could be easily avoided by just starting with a well-designed font. But you don't want that to be your ending point. The idea is to take that font and then customize it from there. And that way, you have the security knowing that all of your spacing is correct while also having lettering that is custom and original. So let's quickly look at how we use a font website. Now, you can use any of the many sites available, and these websites allow you to choose your lettering style, but they also let you change the preview text into whatever you want. And the best way to choose among the fonts is to screenshot each preview and drop that into Procreate or Photoshop, and then compare them side to side. And once you got something that you like, you can use that as your starting point to start customizing from. So great, we have this straight section of lettering, but in many tattoos, you're going to want to curve your lettering so it fits into banners or flows with the body. So I'm going to show you a great technique to do that, but first, let me show you how we used to do it. Back in the day, we would create these big sheets of custom alphabets, and then photocopy those sheets to about the right size and then manually place each letter on a curve, and then just rotate the letters a bit to match the curve. So in the end, you get letters on a curve, but this isn't curved lettering. Then the day came where we could preview our lettering in any font, and those previews had perfect spacing. So we used this next technique that lets us keep the spacing while also adding a curve. To do this, you just want to make a few guidelines and then move your letters into their first position. Now in Procreate or Photoshop, you're going to find a skew tool. And there's usually a way to constrain your skew to only being vertical, which is what we want. To start, make a selection that reaches the center of the lettering and skew that section until it matches the curve, which looks pretty wild until you make a new selection, but this time a little further out, and then skew that selection until it matches the curve. And as you make selections and skew the letters closer and closer to the edge, you start to get perfectly curved lettering. And when one side is done, you just do the same to the other. And now you have curved lettering while keeping all that perfect spacing. And when you compare this to how we used to do it, this technique becomes a game changer, and we use it all the time. And the best part is, it works really well with complex lettering styles like script. And look, there's lots of other ways to curve lettering, like with warp or liquify or just doing it by hand, but I feel the skew method is the best for keeping that perfect spacing every time without distorting your letters too much. And now you got a great base to start designing your custom letters and flourishes. Alright, so now you're going to see us put all that theory into practice over these next 3 projects. This is the Fortune Rose tattoo design. The brief is to have a banner across the ribs with the words "Fortune favors the bold," and that banner will be surrounded by roses. The goal is to make the tattoo feel ornamental and pretty, so on the font website we will be looking at script. Now there are thousands of fonts, so it's very important to not get too bogged down in choices. Just stack up your favorite fonts and compare them next to each other, and it becomes a lot easier to pick the best ones. I then get my lettering into the first rough angle. The goal is to have our lettering match the curve of the banner. So we start by making a selection near the middle and using the skew tool to change the angle of the lettering slowly as we move towards the end. And we do the same with the other side. These banner shapes aren't just simple curves, these are very specific shapes. So this curving technique is really valuable in situations like this. For this tattoo design, I want to do the final artwork on paper, so I'm using a technique called overdrawing. So far, the banner and the lettering from our computer work is pretty rough, but in this stage, I'm able to refine the image into a much more consistent piece of art. And it's important to note that it really doesn't matter how you refine your lettering and create your final artwork, whether it's in Procreate or Photoshop or on paper. You just want to create a great finished piece of art that will not only inform your client but also inspire them. And if you want to learn more about the Fortune Rose tattoo design, it will have its own dedicated video on the channel where we go into much greater detail. But what about adding perspective to our letters? And what are some other effects we can add to create depth and dimension? This is the Chrome family tattoo design. Our client would like the word family across their upper back and for the lettering to be shaded to look like chrome. To get our starting point, I check out a font website, only this time I use search terms like medieval and Old English to narrow down the options. And just like before, I stack up the font choices and make a short list of favorites. And I mixed a few styles together to make my own combination. I then repaint each letter and add my own flourishes. And from there, I add the lettering to our blank. I then add perspective with the transform tool, making the top of the lettering wider than the bottom. And after laying down some guidelines, I get the lettering into its first angle. And then, just like before, I make a selection starting near the center and begin skewing the letters bit by bit, working my way towards the end. And once that side is done, I repeat the same process on the other. Next, I use the Liquify tool to fine-tune a few areas. And I then start to design the flourishes that surround the lettering. I ended up inverting the design so the letters were light and the background was dark. And once I'm happy with the rough composition, I print an outline so I can make my final choices on paper. First, I'll refine the outline and then add lines to show the three-dimensional shape. And finally, I add shading and draw the horizon line to help sell the chrome effect. And if you want to learn more about the Chrome family tattoo design, it will have its own video as well, where you can see the entire process in full detail. With our last project, instead of making the letters clear and easy to read, our client wants the letters to be mysterious. This is the Dark Loyalty tattoo design. The brief is to have the word loyalty in Gothic calligraphy, with the letters roughly shaped like the front of a corset. And we're headed to a font website to find medieval lettering styles, only this time we'll modify the letters until they're almost unrecognizable. This involves a layered process of refining the shapes, until we get a rough idea of how the letters should look. And instead of curving the lettering, this time we're constructing entirely new letters. But just like before, we'll use overdrawing to create the final artwork. And once the composition is on paper, I begin making choices to complete the outline first. I then use black pens on the artwork and I create a textured effect in the middle of each letter. And if you're interested, the Dark Loyalty tattoo design also has its own dedicated video that goes into much greater detail. So that's 3 projects demonstrating the techniques discussed in this video. Lettering is one of the most technical parts of a tattoo design, so look forward to more lettering videos soon. But for now, I hope this video helped. I thank you for watching and I wish you all the best in your future projects. Hey, if you got anything out of this, then help us out by hitting the like button. And subscribe to our channel, we come out with new videos often. And make sure to hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. And if you're serious about creating the best art possible for your tattoos, then go to tattoodesignschool.com and check out the masterclass. This is everything I wish I knew when I was first starting out, and it will push you to create artwork you didn't think was possible. This is the perfect investment in your tattoo career, so check out the masterclass at tattoodesignschool.com. But most importantly, share this video with the person you know who's interested in artwork and tattoos. And we'll see you in the next one.